We like to believe our survival is because of strength, intelligence, progress. But if you look closely at the past, if you really listen to the quiet spaces between the headlines, you'll find something far more fragile. Something terrifyingly human. Luck. Slow ambient pulse. A clock ticks. There are moments in history when one man's hesitation, one machine's glitch, or even the weather itself, determined whether billions would live or die. Moments that no one saw coming. Every civilization believes it's strong, destined to last. But history doesn't care about destiny. It only remembers who survived long enough to tell the story. So tonight, as you watch this, remember, we are not here because we were always right. We are here because the universe looked away for a second. Music swells. Fade to black. This is the story of how the world survived. By pure luck. October 27, 1962. The world was seconds away from ending. Most people on Earth had no idea. But deep under the waters of the Caribbean, one man held the power to start World War III. His name was Vasily Arkhipov, a Soviet naval officer aboard submarine B-59. The United States had surrounded Cuba, ready to strike. The Soviets had nuclear missiles on the island, and inside this submarine a single nuclear torpedo. October 27, 1962. The world was seconds away from ending. Most people on Earth had no idea. But deep under the waters of the Caribbean, one man held the power to start World War III. His name was Vasily Arkhipov, a Soviet naval officer aboard submarine B-59. The United States had surrounded Cuba, ready to strike. The Soviets had nuclear missiles on the island, and inside this submarine a single nuclear torpedo. For days, the B-59 had been hunted by American warships. Depth charges exploded nearby, warning shots, but the crew didn't know that. Inside, it was over 45 degrees Celsius. No communication with Moscow, no fresh air, no light, only fear. The crew believed World War III had already started. According to Soviet protocol, the captain could launch a nuclear weapon if all officers agreed. Captain Savitsky was ready. Another officer agreed. That left only one man to decide, Vasily Arkhipov. If he said yes, a nuclear torpedo would explode beneath the American fleet, triggering retaliation, and the end of civilization. But Vasily hesitated. He said no. He refused to authorize the launch. That single sentence, spoken in the heat of chaos, buried beneath the ocean, saved billions of lives. Above the surface, President Kennedy and Soviet Premier Khrushchev were locked in a deadly game of pride and power. One misunderstanding could have turned the Cold War into nuclear winter. But because of Vasily Arkhipov's decision, that didn't happen. He returned home unnoticed, uncelebrated, dying years later in quiet poverty. Few even knew his name. Soft strings begin to play. Today, historians call him the man who saved the world. But the truth is even simpler. He was just lucky enough to be there, and brave enough to say no when everyone else was ready to burn the earth. Fade to black. Submarine disappears into the deep. One man's hesitation, 1 second's pause, and the planet kept turning. It was after midnight in Moscow. The world above was sleeping, but inside a secret Soviet bunker, one man's heartbeat was the only thing standing between peace and total annihilation. His name was Stanislav Petrov, a quiet officer, a systems engineer, a man who followed orders until that night. Cut to visual. Flickering radar screens, Soviet officers staring in disbelief. On his monitor, a red warning suddenly flashed. Nuclear launch detected. United States. Nuclear launch detected. United States. The computer showed it clearly, 1 missile, then 2, then 5, all heading toward the Soviet Union. According to military protocol, Petrov had only minutes to respond. He was supposed to report it as an active American nuclear attack. If he did, the Soviet chain of command would launch an immediate counterstrike. Thousands of missiles across continents. The screen kept flashing. The alarms blared. The pressure was unbearable. It was September 18, 1980. Inside a Titan II missile silo near Damascus, Arkansas, U.S. Air Force technicians were performing routine maintenance. Inside that missile rested one of the most powerful nuclear warheads ever built, a 9-megaton bomb, more than 600 times stronger than Hiroshima. Metal clang, then silence. The wrench socket slipped, bounced off the steel platform, and fell straight down the silo shaft. It struck the missile's side, piercing the fuel tank. Within seconds, toxic fuel hissed into the air. The silo erupted in a fireball so bright it lit the Arkansas sky. The 740-ton blast door, built to withstand nuclear war, was thrown hundreds of feet away. The warhead was launched out of the silo like a bullet, and somehow it didn't detonate. By sheer luck, the detonation triggers hadn't armed. If they had, millions would have died, and the U.S. might have believed it was an attack, starting a nuclear exchange with the Soviet Union. The Spanish flu spread faster than anything humanity had ever seen. In less than 2 years, it infected 1/3 of the planet and killed over 50 million people. But what most people don't know is that it could have been far, far worse. The virus was one mutation away from wiping out civilization. Scientists now know it nearly evolved into a strain so lethal it would have killed within hours. But it didn't. The mutation didn't happen by chance. Doctors in 1918 had no antibiotics, no antivirals. Hospitals overflowed. Bodies piled up in the streets. Cities banned public gatherings. Schools closed. It felt like the end of the world. Yet, in the chaos, something strange happened. The virus began to weaken, not strengthen. It mutated in our favor. A genetic accident. A twist of molecular dice that turned a possible extinction into a slow recovery. February 15, 2013. A bright morning over Chelyabinsk, Russia. People were driving to work, children walking to school, when suddenly, a fireball tore across the sky.
Massive sonic boom shakes windows.
Glass shatters. People scream. A 20-meter asteroid entered Earth's atmosphere at 60,000 kilometers per hour. It exploded with the force of 30 Hiroshima bombs. Windows shattered in 6 cities. Over 1,500 people were injured. And yet that was the lucky part. Because if that rock had entered the atmosphere just a few seconds later, it would have hit the ground intact, directly on a city of over 1 million people.
No survivors.
Astronomers later admitted they hadn't even seen it coming. It came from the direction of the sun, completely invisible. Cut to NASA footage, space telescopes scanning black skies. And Chelyabinsk wasn't the only one. In 2002, an asteroid the size of a football field passed within hours of Earth, detected only after it missed. So many near ends. So many invisible coin tosses. It makes you wonder, is there a pattern to luck? Maybe luck isn't random. Maybe it's the space between our arrogance and our humility, between chaos and mercy. Each time humanity stood at the edge, something or someone pulled it back. Sometimes a person's courage. Sometimes a machine's failure. Sometimes a rock missing the planet by inches. If any of those moments had gone the other way, we wouldn't be here to tell the story. No cities.
No laughter.
No stories. Just silence floating through space. Yet here we are, alive, breathing, scrolling, watching. Maybe survival isn't proof of strength. Maybe it's a reminder of how fragile we really are, and how precious each day still is. The world has survived nuclear wars that never happened. Diseases that could have been worse. Asteroids that missed by miles. Again and again we've been lucky. But luck doesn't last forever. Clock ticking slowly. One day, another glitch, another decision, another random event might not fall in our favor. And when that day comes, the only question will be, did we learn anything from the chances we were given? We can't control luck, but we can control what we do with the time it gives us. We can choose empathy over ego, preparation over pride, unity over war, because luck may save us once, maybe twice, but history shows it never saves us forever. Soft fade to black. Text on screen appears. How the world survived by pure luck. We are still here, not because we deserved it, but because the universe blinked. Thank you so much for watching Smiling Face with Smiling Eyes.